discriminate.
Good evening, everybody. Today is June 4th,
May. Oh gosh.
June 4th, 2024.
I wrote the right day.
It's the Hannah City Village Council meeting. If everybody please stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. Moment of silence will also be in recognition of the D-Day anniversary. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be seated. Yes, I know today is not the anniversary of the June 6th, 1944. It's my mother's birthday. I can never forget it. So, but since we will not be here, I wanted to make sure that we included it in our remembrance of our fallen. Before we begin anything this evening,
No guess,
okay, no guests. Before we begin the meeting, there needs to be a little discussion. Brian has been approached to do some temporary part-time work for another municipality, which cannot be named at this time because it has not been made public. He would not be decreasing his hours here, nor be asking for any more pay from us or anything like that. We can't go into complete details due to confidentiality. His hours would change up a little bit, but he would still maintain his hours here at the village while also helping the other municipality. He doesn't desire to leave Hannah City. Me and Brian have talked on this twice and had in-depth discussions. Village of Hannah City will still be his priority. And if he gets behind, we've talked, and he would, let us know that, and let the other entity know that, hey, I need to spend a little more time on Hannah City. So I wanted to find out what the board thought of that. I've given Brian my blessing on it, but we wanted to make sure that we brought it to the board and brought it to the attention of all the board members.
Okay.
And it's only supposed to be a temporary thing until they can find someone.
So another part-time administrator's family has a health issue and they're going to have to relocate in order to take care of that in short notice, and they're kind of caught without the ability to find anyone, and they're looking for somebody to kind of help them till they bridge the gap. And I'm confident that I can do both and not drop any balls here. It's going to take a lot to do both, but I'm comfortable that I can do it for a short period of time. They know I'm not the long-term solution, and they know my heart and loyalty and everything is here, but I would like to help temporarily if I can.
It doesn't sound like it's going to take anything away from us. We're going to stay priority. Yeah.
Can't think of anyone better.
Thank you.
You are so
I was thinking about reducing his hours anyway.
This makes that easier, doesn't it?
No, I don't see a problem.
Yeah. Once it's public, I can tell you everything, or even after we're not online, I'm happy to tell you and answer whatever questions as long as you keep it confidential. But and it's not official on their end either. Their board would have to approve it. But I told them that I wouldn't do anything without talking to you guys first.
Yeah, and one of the reasons is they have a meeting tonight too where this is going to be made public, and we want to make sure it's held in confidence until that time. So,
okay.
No questions, comments?
Trust me, I'll stay on it.
Me too.
Yes, Cassandra definitely will.
Good luck.
Thanks.
So everybody should have a copy of our May 21st, 2024 council meeting minutes. Please review those. Corrections or changes?
I've got a question.
Mm-hmm.
It says in the minutes that we had a motion
Under
that
which,
under community and economic development
Mm-hmm.
for the reimbursement of project 24R9. So we also have reimbursement for 24R9 again. Are those separate actions right there?
So last time what we approved was that they could go, even though the project was already done,
Right.
that we'd go ahead and approve the money. Tonight is basically not really approval of the money, but a release of the funds, saying that we're willing to release the funds. So basically and some of it I messed up, right? So when I bring like tonight when we talk about the commercial projects, we don't need to sign any paperwork or anything. All we're saying is those projects can move forward, and assuming that they meet all the requirements, when they turn in their things at the end, then the board will release the funds. And that's the official approval, is the release of funds. So really tonight we're asking for the funds to be released on 24R1 and 24R9.
Okay. So it needs to be reflective. I need to put not reimbursement, but approve the grant.
We approved the grant even though the work had already been done.
So
That's what we did. That's what I would say.
So I'm going to correct these.
Yeah. And then tonight the wording I would use is if they approve 24R1 and 24R9, that the projects are approved and we're releasing the funds.
Okay. I just had put reimbursement. I thought that's what.
Yeah, it's confusing. So like tonight, the step in the process on the commercial ones is we're just saying, yep, we like those projects and we want those to be the ones we're going to move forward with. And then once those projects are done and they've met all the requirements, then we'll release the funds for those. And those are the official documents that you have to sign. Yeah.
I just added reimbursement and I shouldn't have. I'll fix that, Zach.
any other changes or comments? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes with changes as stated.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Pearson, second by Sidak. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Treasurer's report.
So in your packet, you have not only the disbursement or the disbursements, but there is a statement showing interest from the Illinois Funds account this month, $7,700.
Who got a new chair?
Sarah.
It's a nice chair.
No.
Yeah.
Good.
It's an awesome chair.
She was having difficulty with her back, and I think it was her supporters.
So I asked Cassandra on this report to include the total balance and then also the income generated by that balance for the month. So this would have been the first month where we had the full new amount in the Illinois funds, and it generated almost $7,800. So
Yep.
I think we had budgeted
It's on the last page.
$80,000 for the year. 70.
It's the last
Say at the
page.
7,800 would be over that, like 93,000.
What do we rent from Bobcat?
A sleeper attachment for our Bobcat.
Don't we do that a decent amount?
I know they rent. I think they rent it twice a year, something like that.
I didn't know how much they were.
It was an attachment.
A couple thousand?
To rent it, I don't know.
No.
How much to buy it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
$600 to rent.
I can ask Roger.
I think it's like $5,000 or $6,000 for the attachment.
Is it?
I think Roger looked at it at one time. I think he said they only rent it a couple of times a year, but they didn't feel like they needed it yet.
Yeah, if they do it more than 2 times a year or so, though, I mean, hell.
I think they only do it twice a year, if that, because I think they sweep the gravel in the spring, get it out of the edge
Mm-hmm.
or the chip, on some of the roads, and then they use it sometimes when they done doing the roads for MFT. They use it too.
I'm also curious if they'd use it more if we had one. I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report and all the outstanding bills.
I have a motion by Chair Wally,
Second.
second by Sydak. Any further discussion, comments? We'll roll call it. Weaver,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Chair Wally,
Yes.
Sydak,
Yes.
motion carries.
We're working on closing, she's working on closing the books right now, so hopefully next meeting we'll have first month financials.
Nothing from Brandon.
Nothing new from Brandon.
Miss Abby, that's you.
Nothing to report.
You're making it too easy. Brian, go ahead.
So you've got a document in your packet that kind of outlines a high-level code enforcement process. We did some very basic benchmarking with some other communities to do some learning and find out what they did, and then from there we built this process. We've been running it now for about a month to pilot it to see if it works, and I just kind of wanted to share with you how we're doing it at this point and get any feedback that you have in terms of things you like or don't like, or any thoughts or comments maybe. Our strategy, and a lot of this is based upon the feedback that we got, that a lot of communities, as soon as they got their code enforcement up and running, they went and sent out like 120 letters and attacked the town, and everybody needed to get compliant, and it created a huge uproar, and their advice was don't do that. They said go pick 5 places that are the worst and then start working with them and work out your bugs and then continue to go on to the next and so on and so forth. So that's the way we've done it. We've extended a lot of grace. For us, progress is more important than fines. So the fines, what we found is the fines are getting people's attention. And then once we get their attention, then they kind of say, well, okay, I'll get it taken care of. Can you hold off on the fines for now? And then our response is generally, yeah, if it's done by XYZ date, then we'll look into doing that. And that's helped us to move forward and get some things done. And then the final thing is goodwill. If we have people that are willing to work with us and we have teamwork, we're willing to compromise and do whatever we need to do. If they're not, or we don't hear from them or whatever, then we just follow the process pretty strictly. The other point I want to make is we need to rework the code. We just talked about it, and we budgeted this year for a project to do that with Abby and her team. We're having our kickoff meeting on June 13th. You know, we've already got administration done, but the next one we're going to look at is this one, where we specifically look at what are the major code things that we need to manage. And then, so they're going to kind of give us an outline of what best practices code book might look like. And then we're going to look at that in detail. We'll be asking you for your input and questions on how you guys want to structure things. At the end of the day, once we've got it kind of packaged together, we'll bring it to you guys to approve. And we'll probably do that kind of chapter by chapter. We do want to include the emergency step act faster than this process, assuming there's a public safety issue. We also want to weave in vacant and foreclosure processes. So basically what happens is Brad goes out regularly and kind of drives the town and looks. He's the one that's telling us, what's going on. And if he sees a vacant house or a house that we think is foreclosed on or whatever, then we can report that to Hera Properties, who's our management company for that. And then they send them something and they have to register and pay a registration fee. We probably get a couple $100 a month using that process. To this point, the Hera process has only included ones that they can find the paperwork in the system. But they are now saying they have the ability, hopefully, that if we tell them that house is vacant and that house is vacant, that they can reach out to them and work with them as well. So that's part of Brad's responsibility as he goes around. So we're weaving that in. And then we meet every Monday, 9 o'clock every Monday, Brad, Cassandra, and I. And basically we say, okay, who's open, who's closed, and we do a status report on all of them. And then if whatever's closed, then we're fine. And then if we get to a place where we only have 2 that we're working, then we send Brad out to go get 2 or 3 more and tell us which ones to do next. So the way the process works is step 1 is a friendly door hanger reminder, and there's copies we can pass around. We used to just have cards we put in the doors and stuff, but we went ahead and created these. And so this is step one. When Brad sees a violation, he'll bring a picture back. If we all agree it's a violation, then he'll put a coat hanger on the door, and they got 2 weeks to do something about that. Brad will take pictures and regularly check to see if they've made any progress. I don't know, what would you say? Half the time, people with through just this step take care of it. A lot of it's grass, too long, things like that.
Did AT&T ever cut their grass?
They did. Yep.
You look disappointed.
Yeah, I wanted to yell at.
And so we've done a lot. We had the guy on 116 in Murphy that had the big brush piles that somebody complained about. And really, that's the way we do it. If somebody complains, then Brad will give them and we agree, Brad will give them a door hanger. And then if we see something that we think is like one of the most egregious things, then we'll proactively give them a door hanger. And like I said, we give them 2 weeks to respond to that. But most people are responding right away. Not everybody waits that time, but some wait that time. After 2 weeks, then Cassandra sends a formal code violation letter. And that letter basically says, if you don't fix it in the next 2 weeks, so now we're out a month, right? But if you don't fix it in the next 2 weeks, we're going to start fining you $25 a day plus any associated costs that we have. Registered letters, any of that kind of stuff. And we send that in regular mail and certified mail. And then she tracks the certified mail and reports out at the meeting who's picked up their mail and who hasn't. So after 2 weeks, if they haven't done anything, they've been given a month at this point.
What's the compliance rate with that?
You know what? That usually gets their attention. I think we had 2 or 3 that didn't out of the 8 or 9 that we've done. I mean,
yeah, right now we've only got 2 that have gone beyond this step. So again, after the 2 weeks, then if they've still done nothing, or if they've not made any progress, or haven't contacted us, or worked out a deal or anything, then we start fining them. We send a letter saying your fines are starting today, right? We told you we're going to start fining you. It's $25 a day. And then after a week, then the next Monday, if they haven't done anything, she sends them an invoice for the week's fines. And then the next second week, she sends them an invoice for the 2 weeks' fines. And then the 3 weeks, she sends them an invoice for 3 weeks' fines. And 4 weeks, she sends them an invoice for the 4 weeks' fines. And so basically, we're now 8 weeks out, right? They've had 8 weeks to make a change, and they've got 4 weeks of fines if they've gotten to this point. We have 2 right now that are in this. One is a foreclosed house that we don't get any response to.
all the letters come back.
And then the second one is a guy who lives in Florida, and he's got a house here, but it took 4 weeks of fines before he started to see, higher dollars, and he finally called. But we've been working with him for a while, and he's dragged his feet. But we finally got attention there. And then Brad's regularly tracking compliance, so we know, okay, they've done something, so we need to stop fining them or whatever. After the 4-week process, if they haven't done anything, then we send them a formal abatement letter. You haven't done anything with it, we're going to take care of it ourselves and charge you for it. We've had one that we've done this with. Send it regular and certified mail. At that point, we stop the fines because we fixed the problem and charged them for it. But then if they go back to it, if the problem occurs again, then we start the process over again. It's the one house that is foreclosed on where we're into this situation. It's the corner of, it's not on the corner. It's one in off of Runkle.
Off of Hannah City, or off
Walnut is and behind it, and Runkle's in the front of it. It's one house off of Hannah City, Glassford.
Hannah.
I'm sorry, Hannah.
That's what I was trying to think.
Yep. We're not getting any response to that. I think it's going into foreclosure.
And what's the problem? Is the yard?
So they weren't mowing, and then they had a bunch of trash and stuff in the yard, and then the garage was full of trash, but it had all kind of strewn out into the alley and that kind of
People
stuff.
had gotten into it and things like that.
So the way we took care of this one, we may have to eventually find companies that can help us do this, but the way we took care of this one is Brad and Roger were willing to go do it. So they just took the skid steer over there. We developed a plan. They took all the stuff that was out there. They didn't throw anything away. They just put it all into the garage and made sure that nothing got broken or whatever. And then they closed the garage door, and then they mowed the grass, got it all cleaned up. I think it took them 3 hours to do it. So she's written the lien letter now because that's the next step in the process. So we're putting a lien on the property for the full amount of the fines and the cost to abate. And Abby's in the process of reviewing that lien letter now, and it'll go out. I did see that house had been up for sale on somebody's website. I get anything goes up for sale in Hannah City, I get a notification, and that one had gone up for sale. So we want to get the lien in because before it gets sold, because then we make sure that we get the money. But it's about $1,700,
So
something
it's
like
not
that.
owned by a bank. Somebody actually.
Not at this point, not that we know of. Yep.
I do have a quick comment about the lien situation. So the Illinois law only allows you to get the costs for the abatement and like the recording fees for the lien. So you won't be able to get the violation fines with the lien. You'd have to get a court order for that. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that.
So when you look at that lien that you sent out, it's got that in there. Maybe make those notes when you email us back, and then we can have a discussion about how we want to go about that.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yep. We were in the process of doing that. So we'll get back to you tomorrow on it. So you should have
I
it.
appreciate that. So right now, I think we only have 2 active, the 2 on Runkle. Is that right?
Yeah.
And we've had probably 6 or 7 that have done what's been asked. The other one on Runkle, we have held. I've agreed to hold the fines. They've been fined for a month, but I've agreed to hold them. And I agreed to have a conversation about reducing them if it gets fixed in the next 30 days. And he's shown me all the documentation that he's using with the person that is currently in the property, renting it, that he's working with that guy to take care of those things. So don't want to talk too publicly about that, but he's doing the things necessary to get that fixed. And so hopefully that one will get fixed. Brad this week is going out to find us our next 2 or 3 and going to take pictures of the ones he thinks maybe need to be addressed, and then he'll bring them in. I get the point on, like, there are people that park in the, in the right of way or the RVs or those types of things. We're trying to kind of triage this thing and deal with the head wounds and chest wounds first, and then eventually move into the broken legs, and then, on down the line into the things that are more important. But it seems like the process is working. It does seem like it's a long time. One thing we found, though, is like it takes them almost 2 weeks to even respond to a certified. Sometimes they don't even pick it up for a week, because it doesn't go. It goes to the post office box, right? Not to their
Well,
or
it
the
depends.
post office.
It depends. Sometimes they'll attempt to deliver it and nobody's home, so it'll sit at the post office itself. They leave a little reminder card, and then people don't pick it up. And
So
And they have 15 days to pick it up.
If we had a good mail system.
any
No, it's because most of the people have to physically come in and plus the office hours are divided up here.
one of the questions we get a lot is, well, it's always been okay this way. Why now? And our standard response is, hey, look, we're in the process now of putting $100,000 a year into the community through economic development programs with commercial and residential programs. And so it doesn't seem to make much sense for us to be making that kind of commitment without then also managing this side of things. And so that's why. And the other thing that's interesting is because we've given them this much grace, even some really difficult people, when it's hard for them to say after 8 weeks that we haven't given them a bunch of grace to help them get to a place and that we aren't willing to work with them. So I don't think we have a huge problem in town, and we'll have to decide how far we want to take it, but I feel like the process is working. I feel like we're making progress. I feel like we're seeing change. It's just going to take a little while to whittle our way through it. All right, I'm going to shut up. Thoughts, comments, questions?
No, I like it. Makes sense.
Any questions, any comments? Committee reports, Mr. Cherivalli.
I got nothing.
Planning and zoning,
Nothing.
sewer and sanitary, Mr. Pearson.
Nothing.
Water, Mr. Pearson?
Water, I'll just say that the Ameren portion for the lagoon solar is complete, so we can now start construction.
In that fact, I also, instead of we've already approved the project in whole. So instead of, we don't need to approve every expense on that project. So I've given verbal to Brian and Cassandra when those bills come in for those to go ahead and get them paid, since we've already approved the project on that. So
We had to make some upgrades, right?
Say again?
Did we have to make some upgrades to our building?
The Hakatola, who's putting it in, had to do some new things for the transformer, but that's cost he's
taking
built into the process, and so they're not asking for any new money. To Tony's point, you all have already approved us to borrow whatever the $520-some thousand in order to do it. What's going to happen now is Hakatola is going to order parts, and they're going to send us an invoice for $50,000 and say, here's what we're doing. And then we've got to call the bank, draw against that money. They'll send us the money. Cassandra will pay the bill out of that money. Abby did send me a note later today saying she thought it might be a good idea if we just passed a one-time vote that says that we have the authority to pay those bills even though the loan's already been approved. You guys will still have line of sight to them, but we don't want to wait. We don't have to wait 2 weeks for a meeting and push the project out each time, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to be, what we're asking is that we can approve and draw against the loan, not draw above the loan, but draw what's already been approved in order to pay the invoices. And then those invoices will be on the treasurer's report and that kind of stuff after the fact, so you can look at them and see what the money's been spent on and so forth.
And you'll put that on for next meeting.
I've got that on the agenda for the next meeting to have something that says you guys are giving us the authority to approve that as long as you guys have line of sight to it after the fact, and we can't draw above the loan amount.
Anything else, Mr. Pearson?
No, sir.
Buildings and grounds, Mr. Weaver.
Nothing to report.
Streets and alleys, Mr.
Nothing
Weaver.
to report.
CDC, Mr. Sydak.
Okay, so we've got two funding releases. First one is for Project 24R1 with a cost of $2,625. R1 is, I believe, the one in the packet from Jeff Avery, which was a window replacement. I mean, it's all there. Check.
So these two we will need signatures on, and we have to send back to Gwen at Jacob and Klein. Basically, what's happened is they did their permit, they did their W-9, they had the work done, they've submitted their proof of payment and their paid in full invoices. Those have been submitted to Jacob and Klein. Jacob and Klein have given us the thumbs up and said you're good to go to release the funds. So if you guys approve this tonight, we'll cut a check and send the mayor out with the big check and take a picture with Mr. Avery.
So it's fine. So I will make a motion.
Where's the number at?
They're not. It's not actually on there. You can just write on it. It's 20. Yeah. In the past, I've written them on, or I've written on some of them, but I apologize. I didn't write it on there.
So this is actually the reimbursement.
Correct.
Okay.
So basically, what we're doing tonight is you guys are releasing the funds for reimbursement. That's what we're voting on.
How come this says 2,500 here? And this, let's see here. It says 26.
Yeah, 2625, I think, right? Oh, you're right. That was the total available amount. Thank you, Cassandra. It should be $2,550. I put the wrong amount on the agenda. Thank you. That's a good catch. So the total amount that they could have received is $2,625. Based upon what they submitted, the 75% amount is $2,550.
$500.50.
Correct. I pulled the number from the wrong place, so that's my mistake.
Okay, in that case, I didn't even say the dollar amount. I'll make a motion that we approve the disbursement of funds to 24R1 for the amount of $2,500.50.
Yes, I probably did the same.
Second.
That's right.
So motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. Is it Pearson? Okay. Any further discussion? No, we'll roll call it. Pearson?
Yes.
Chervali?
Yes.
Sidak?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, and then we've got project 24R9, which was that's not it. Where'd that go? Endorse pen, which was the one that already had the work done. It was
Part of the work, the gravel.
part of the
down
work was done. They actually paid for it.
I had this number right. I just pulled it from the wrong place on the other one. So it was a door in the gravel is what she did.
So I will make a motion. Where my agenda go? I'm all over the place. I'll make a motion that we approve the disbursement of funds to Project 2409 for the cost of $1,601.25.
Second.
Motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. Any further discussion? We'll roll call it. Chervali?
Yes.
Sidak?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Pearson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, now it gets a little complicated. So the CEDC's recommendation on the 28th, we had in place of Sir David Tuttle, we had Zach Odewalt, who gave a number of rousing speeches about the projects that we were trying to decide upon. And so there was a lot of good debate on, what the CEDC would want to recommend. And so the CEDC's official recommendations, as far as the commercial grants go, is that they, I know it's on here, but they officially did not recommend Project 24C4 for approval. Granted, we can still do that, but they thought otherwise.
That was the coffee can request. So basically, just real quick, going into the meeting, they had $33,837.85 left to make recommendations on. We had 4 projects that the values of those projects exceeded that dollar amount. So what Zach's going through is their recommendations on how to distribute the remaining funds.
Yes. And so the idea was, originally the prevailing school of thought is they actually want to divvy everything up equally, which was there was a pretty good egalitarian sentiment until eventually we came to the consensus that because Gills had gotten money last year, we are instead going to recommend that projects 24, C6, and C7 get fully funded, and then whatever is left over goes to C5. With the idea that if there's BDD money floating around, we could work with Gills to fully fund their project in the future. But as far as the development program goes, they wanted to see C6 and C7 fully funded.
So just as a reminder, the protocol they operate under is what's in the best interest of the village is priority 1, all things being equal. If somebody's already received money, distribute it more broadly. In other words, give money to new people. And there's a long debate about that, in the meeting as to what the balancing those two priorities. The other thing is their recommendations don't have to be followed. If at the end of the day, if you guys don't like what they recommended, you can decide something different. However, you've got representatives from each of those taxing bodies, so they're trying to make decisions based upon what they think is in the best interest of the village.
So their reason for not recommending coffee can is because of what they've received from the village previously, or?
Same sentiments, because this is when they had pushed their opening date back again. They said, "Well, we're still not seeing an open business."
So they had met
why
on
would
the
we give you money?
28th. Was that our meeting, Zach? The 28th?
Yeah, 28th.
At that point, they hadn't reopened, and so they were thinking.
If they had been open, would that have swayed?
I think it might have helped, but
That seems a little skewed now that he's back open, but
I think there probably would have been additional discussion, but I still think we would have wound up here, which is Gil Evans has never gotten money and Country Relics have never gotten money. And ultimately, I think that's what carried the day for fully funding those projects, is spreading the wealth.
but you're talking about splitting. You talked about giving Gills 4,500.
The recommendation was fully fund
The other two.
the Evans project and the Country Relics project, and then there's 4527 remaining of the 33,837, and so offer that to Gills and see if they want to use it for any of their projects, or if if they don't want to use it, then they don't have to, right? Because their projects, they were asking, I think they were eligible for 15 grand. You offer them 4,500, they may say, "Nah, we don't want anything. We want to reapply next year."
And my sentiment behind that, because I was sort of pushing for the latter two projects. Gills isn't going to go, oh, we didn't get that redevelopment program, we're going to pack up and move to Bartonville or something. Like, yeah, but it might stink for them to not get that money, but it's not like it's going to drive them out of the community.
They're not going.
Yeah, they're not
They got the money to pay that.
And then there's been one other development since then. We got an email from Refuel. There's 2 projects that they want to submit, but they haven't had the ability to find a second quote, so they've not been able to submit them yet. So technically, they're not submitted officially. The CEDC has not looked at them, but I told them that I would put it in front of the board as we had this discussion, just to give them line of sight to the fact that, and again, while Refuel's not getting funding, the owners of Refuel are getting a fully funded project in the old Casey's, so they are receiving some funds this year. So the bottom line is we got 33,837 to distribute. The CEDC is saying fund fully 24C6 and 24C7, and then offer the remaining funds to Gills.
So I guess first order of business is I'd like to get a temperature reading on whether or not we agree with the recommendation to deny the application for C4, the coffee can application.
The conversation for the remaining 4527, having that go towards Gills instead of like Refuel or a coffee can. Was that discussion had?
No, they pretty much first decided on. Well, they didn't want to make I
know Refuel hasn't submitted technically.
So they didn't have that information at that point.
Yeah.
And there's general, pretty common consensus that that since the coffee can was not reopened or not, that it was difficult to.
Where's this pergola going again?
right on top.
On top of, like, upstairs?
What's going?
Just to shade the upstairs?
The
The
For the
pergola?
coffee can? Yeah.
That's what it's for?
Yeah, the voting, the motion was very affirmative.
I guess, yeah, it's hard to have the conversation when one place isn't open and the other place hasn't submitted the thing.
Right, so they didn't make a motion to decline a project. We made a motion on whether or not to approve it, and then the motion failed, if that makes any sort of.
Yeah.
If that helps you read the room a little bit.
I don't think there's any ill will against the coffee can. I do think they believe it was in a different program, that they've received more money than anybody, right?
I guess my question is, like, for the remainder of 4527, do we want to include that as an offer to Gills, or do we want to hold on to that and have another discussion now that Coffee Can is open and Refuel is going to submit their thing to see what the best use of that funds is?
We can definitely do that. We can.
Yeah, fair enough.
We can table.
Because it sounds like Gills might not even be all that crazy.
They haven't said that.
Right.
I mean, how are we going to find out if Gills will accept that money or not accept that?
Well, if we follow the path that you just recommended, I'm assuming you're saying we would approve 6 and 7.
Yeah.
I'd communicate to them and we'd move forward.
Yeah.
Then I'd go to Gills and say, you're not going to be able to get the fully funding because we only have $4,500 left. Are you interested in resubmitting something for that amount of dollars? And then I would go to Refuel and say, can you get your second quotes? And then the CEDC can look at the new Gills project and refuel and Coffee Can, I guess, at that
I
point.
mean, you could go to Coffee Can and say the same thing that you said to Gills. Like,
Yeah,
would this be
my guess is, I don't know this for sure, but we can make the same offer to Coffee Can, you're right. I don't know that they've got a project that would fit just $5,000 or $4,500. But yeah, but we can make the offer.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I would just say that they felt most strongly about funding the Evans project and the Loveland project.
Yeah, I don't have
That's
any problem with those.
Okay, in that case, I will make a motion that we table the votes on project 24C4 and 24C5.
Do them one at a time.
One at. I'll make a motion that we table the vote on project 24C4 until Brian has corresponded with the owners of that project.
Second. A motion by Sidak, second by Pearson to table 24C4 till next meeting. Since there's no, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
All right, I'll make a motion that we table the vote on project 24C5 until next meeting.
Second.
Motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor signify, excuse me. All those in favor of tabling 24C5 until next meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And then these are just the two projects. C6 is new parking lots.
Yep.
For
For an apartment complex and for industrial business. Located kind of back behind where the Public Works building is and off kind of behind where Sportsman's Club is.
The end of 2nd Street.
So I will make a motion that we approve project 24C6, not dispersing funds, but approving for the cost of
Allowing them to move forward.
$15,000.
Second.
Motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. Any further discussion? We will call that Sidak,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Chirivali.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And then C7 is a siding replacement for Country Relics. I will make a motion that we approve that project, 24C7, for the cost of $14,310.
They're located at the end of Main Street, right alongside Hannah there.
Right, right across from TAP, I think.
Second.
Motion by Sidak, second by Pearson. Any further discussion or comments? We'll roll call it Weaver.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Chirivali.
Yes.
Sidak.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thus concludes my report.
What is their business, Country Relics?
I think it's antiques.
Oh, I know, but how,
I don't know. I've been here for over 20 years. I've never stepped foot.
I've been inside of it once.
They send out postcards every year
Yeah,
for
for
open
Christmas,
house.
yeah.
And she's had it a long time, so I'm not sure her overhead's huge. She runs it herself, and then I think Spoon River's a big time for it as well.
It is, yeah. We're good, I'm glad they're sticking up.
I think they live right next to Gills.
Do they? I don't know.
Yeah, they live 1 or 2 doors down from Gills on Main, so. Yeah,
You don't have the numbers for the.
she don't have much in gas fees to get to work and back.
You do not have the incident reports for administration. I will bring those next meeting. Is that mail on my phone?
I have a couple things under business.
Okay.
You probably saw that we sent out an aggregation communication just to update people. We've been getting questions about that, and I know some of you have as well. The bottom line, if somebody asks you, is there's a base rate and then there's a capacity rate. So we have a base rate, Ameren has a base rate. Right now, our base rate or the aggregation base rate is higher than the Ameren base rate. The capacity rate that goes on top of it will be the same. So if one goes up one, the other one goes up one. Okay, so that doesn't really make much difference. So the decision people have to make is, do they believe from now until the end of 2025 that our base rate is always going to be higher than Ameren's? There are some that believe is once June 1st passes that they'll jack the rates up, and because theirs can move, our base rate is static. So that's the clarification that I give people is you have to decide. We can't decide for you. The other point I get, and eventually if you guys want to do something different, we can, but the other point I get is I don't like the fact that the village board automatically signs me up, right? That when we vote to have an aggregation plan, I'm automatically opted in.
That's the main complaint that I got.
Yeah, and what I normally tell them is I get it, and I understand that it's not optimal, but if we don't do it that way, then we're not eligible for any of the programs. And so would you rather not make an opportunity available for people to potentially save money because of the opt-in?
And it opens up a whole other thing. Well, then you say, okay, you have to choose one, and then if they don't choose one, they just lose power.
I got a letter at every business for the same thing. At
So
3
Peoria
different
County-
towns. And
Peoria County's in the
every
same.
single one of them was the same thing. Got
Yeah.
one from Bartonville, they all
Yeah,
same
so
thing.
Bartonville's in the aggregation, Peoria County's in the aggregation, Hammond City's in the aggregation, and so forth. So the other question we get is, well, I don't want to buy power from somebody other than Ameren. And I'm like, well, you're not. All you're doing is locking in a price and a program, but your provider is still Ameren. So I wouldn't say it's a bunch of people. We probably get 4 or 5 people that call and don't like the opt-in thing, and I get that. I don't necessarily care for it either, but that's this group's decision. At the end of the day, if you don't like the opt-in thing,
We do it for everything. We do it for garbage. We do it for recycling. I mean, it's all of our services are like that.
When was this agreement started?
So he told me that every June 1st is an opportunity for Ameren to do something, so there'll always be letters in the June timeframe. But it runs from June 1 through December of 2025.
Right, but I don't remember us voting to enter.
Yeah, we voted back, I don't remember, but it was probably
You were here.
4 or 5 months ago.
Caleb doesn't remember either.
Probably 4 or 5 months ago that we voted.
he came
We spent a lot of
and
time
talked
on
to
it.
us.
It'll come back to me.
He brought his crumble cookies.
I don't remember, we debated
Denise,
using,
can you dig out the minutes?
we debated using the local guy
Ryan probably made a comment.
Germantown uses.
He can't remember.
What? You're not gonna make
I said dig out the minutes. He probably commented on it. I can't remember.
Yeah.
He felt like this is
He
awesome.
probably made the motion. Remember the guy that came in and talked to us, the local guy who runs his kind of own aggregation that Cassandra knew
Yes.
from Germantown. So we debated working with him or staying with the big aggregation with Peoria and East Peoria. And then we made the assumption, well, they probably know more than we do, and so let's stick with them. And then I told the other guy, come back, if we're wrong, come back to him, let's improve it. Next time the contract comes out, maybe we'll make a different decision that you know more and can do better, and maybe he can.
I remember the conversation last year of Ameren. When's Ameren going to do their?
Well, we kind of based it off. Me and Brian actually sat here together on a giant Zoom call with every single municipality, and they went through roll call and everything, and asked everybody what they wanted to do, and we watched everybody sign up, like everybody. So I mean, we didn't think we were making the wrong decision at all.
Yeah.
But at this point, the aggregation rate is the base rate. Our base rate. It's not a ton more, but it's more. But everybody keeps telling me it's going to change. It's going to change. Ameren will jump, after June 1st. So we'll see.
It's after you.
And the other thing is, you can watch it on your bill. You can see the two rates, and if it doesn't jump,
Well, it's
and you
very
might-
smart. They make it look good right now. Have everybody opt out, and then to get people out of those aggregate programs.
June 6th of 2023.
So a year ago.
That's why.
And
yeah,
Yeah,
see
okay.
here.
he
I
was
was
there.
The other thing people don't know is, in 2 months, if they don't want to be in the aggregation anymore, you can opt out. You can't get back in, but you can opt out and go with Ameren until the end of 2025.
So you could opt in. and see
Trustee
what
Share
Ameren
Valley
does
made
after
the
June.
motion.
Yeah.
Yes, I
And
did.
Trustee Sydex seconded. Everybody voted yes. And it was we were giving approval to allow Brian the authority to check rates before we actually locked it in. So.
And we did that.
Yeah, if you do bail out, you're stuck for another year and a half.
So one other thing then, because of like the abatements and some other projects potentially, what I've asked Cassandra to do is help me come up with a fully burdened rate for each of our public works people. So in other words, if we've been mowing the Park District Park for them for free for a couple of years now. The plan was they'd eventually get their finances right, and then they would come back and they'd subcontract that again, and our guys wouldn't do it. So we were helping them out. So I finally went back to them and said, hey, it's been a couple of years. I don't want to be a jerk, but one set of taxpayer dollars are going to these guys who I'd rather have them do. And so they said, well, they go out and bid it. Well, they went out and bid it. It was really high. And so I said, well, what would it be just at our cost if our guys have the time to do it? So we came up with an hourly rate, and we went back to them, and Abby's working on the intergovernmental agreement that you guys will vote on. But we came up with $400 a month would be about a little bit above our cost to do it for them. And it would be April through October. And so when the guys are out mowing, they would mow it, and the Park District just pays us $400 a month for those 7 months. So it'd be $2,800 a year to do it. But we're also using that rate for, like, when we abated the property over there and it was 3 hours, I took their fully burdened cost times 3 for Roger and Brad, and that's what we billed them for that. If the HOA wants to move forward and do that road, and the first step is filling the potholes, and our guys have time to do it, then, potentially we can do that at cost. Yeah. So the Park District is winning because they're getting it for about half of what they would have had to pay an outside contractor. We're protecting the Hannah City taxpayer dollars because it's getting covered by what's being billed. But I just wanted to make you guys aware. We won't do any of that without your approval, but the mowing will be the first one that'll come to your attention.
On the just to tag on to that, on the HOA side, we're probably going to have another meeting in September, October. So my guess would be next year that we're going to do something. But we'll probably go along with it.
So what Roger and Brad said is they could do the pothole. He went over and looked. He said they could do the potholes in probably under a day themselves, and you guys would just have to pay for the materials and then their cost to do that.
Yeah.
He said he'd be willing to help you bid out if you want to oil and ship it, but we can't do that work. That somebody else would have to come in and do that. But Roger's got enough expertise that he could find a smaller vendor that would be cost effective.
Yeah, great. Okay.
That's it.
That's it. Finally.
Mm-hmm. My apologies.
No.
I have a couple other things. There's nothing else.
Okay.
I'll probably forget them. The other main question I got, besides the power thing, was the guy going around selling solar, and everybody just, does he have a permit? Does he have a permit? Does not have a permit.
And that's a question
He says he does.
Produce it.
So my wife asked him, do you have a permit? And he said, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let me
I
see
said,
it.
next time ask him for it. So,
Yes.
yeah, he's telling everybody he's permitted.
He does not have a permit.
If he does not
So
have
produce it.
permit, by all means, give me a call. I will be more than happy to go meet the person and bring county and have them removed from town.
Okay.
I would say this: when people ask, say, "Can you show it to me?" and let me take a picture of it, so I can confirm it with Village Hall. And
Can we
then
put that out on our app?
Hmm?
Can we put that out on our app?
Sure.
Just saying it's that time of year,
Or if somebody does get a permit,
If you don't feel comfortable, feel
like
free.
maybe
ask
we
them
just
for
put out
a
like,
permit.
hey, so and so got a permit. They might be coming
And I
around.
just want to let you guys know, and these, I think it's kids because I saw them in Farmington when I was delivering mail. And they're doing this for education money. Like they get a company, like, remember when the people used to go out and sell the knives?
Or selling books.
Now they're selling
Encyclopedia.
solar. So they might be thinking, well, I got the permit that these people gave me, but they don't know they need to get a permit here, which they should be being told.
And everybody.
I don't know that it's maliciously being done, is
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
But if there are 3 people in their group,
Well, I know, but I'm just saying it's everybody's like, fear for your life, and it's like, it's not. Just tell them no, thank you. Go get
Oh,
me
he
a
was
permit.
he's a talker. Like
Oh,
both my wife and my neighbor were talking about the other day had to shut the door in his face and say, "Have a good day," because he'll just keep going.
Well,
wow.
the thing that we need to remember is everybody in their party has to have a copy of their permit. So if they've got 2 guys over here and 2 guys over here, they all need to have a copy of their permit. If they do not have a copy of the permit, you can have them removed from town by jury.
For the sole reason is when asked for it, they have to be provided. Yeah.
I just told the guy I don't believe in solar. Okay, thank you. This was in Farmington.
The other thing was, and I don't know how kosher this is, just tell me it's not if it's not, but my workplace is having a golf outing for amputees, and they're looking for sponsorships at different levels. The guy came to me and he's like, if you guys wouldn't want to sponsor a hole, it's only $250, and all of the cost goes to just putting on the event for the amputees to go out and play golf. It's in August 23rd, and if we wanted to have a rep there to play, I'm sure we could probably accommodate that as well. But there's a few different levels. The hole is $250, or you can sponsor a foursome for $350, and then there's silver and gold for $550 and $850. But I don't know what all that entails. But
I'm all for raising money for cripples, but not amputees.
If you can get us the information, get us the backing on it so we can at least distribute it to the board and have the board be able to take a look.
I sent him a flyer through email just a few minutes
I
ago.
just saw that.
I'll get more.
I just got it.
Okay. I was like, geez, come on.
That's all.
Anything else to come for the board? Danny, I didn't recognize you at the beginning. Did you have anything to come before the board?
No, I do not.
No. Okay. Well, I have no correspondence. So next meeting is June 18th at 6 p.m. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank you
Abby.
very much.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Danny.
Have a good night.
You too.